Podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Obasi, once again joined by my co-host, Harris. Harris, how you doing, bro?
I'm alright, bro. I'm quite tired, to be honest, bro. Soldiering on.
Yeah, fair enough. Last night, so we had the big return of Canelo Alvarez to the zone to face off with Callum Smith for the Unified Super Middleweight Championship of the world. Obviously, the fight was pretty much the way you'd called it in the previous podcast, and to an extent, some of the things that I said, it went that way. What did you actually think about the fight overall, and how Canelo performed, and what Smith was unable to do in the ring?
Yeah, pretty much how we called it. I was surprised about his defense and how many. I thought he would get hit a bit more. I thought he'd get hit about at least a handful of times. But wow, that was mesmerizing. The guy, even the shots you thought landed when you watched the replay, he made him miss too. And I just thought there was a certain point in the fight where I was thinking, all right, Smith, just be a bit more active. And even when Smith started to get active, it was just playing into Canelo's hands. So, I was just like, I started to feel sorry for Smith. I was like, yo, what can this guy actually do? I wanted to see him. I think the only thing he could have done, easy said, obviously, but so he knows where Canelo's going, right? That's the only thing in this fight. You know where he's coming to because he's coming to you. So I thought even when he was keeping him busy, I thought, yeah, Canelo's making you miss with everything. And, his defense is, it's number one right now in the world. No doubt. So I just thought at least when Canelo did have him against the ropes, I wanted a few more shots coming back at Canelo. Even Canelo was like throwing, kind of, touching his guard and then like, all right, uppercut, let me see. He was quite wary. And I was surprised that Smith didn't start. And in the beginning, I understand you're not going to do it. Maybe Canelo's trying to see what you got. And that's why I said on Twitter that the catch and counter could be his downfall too, because if Canelo reads your catch and counter and he knows that which shots you're going to throw it after, then it could become a problem because he's so smart. But there wasn't really that many. And, instead of trying to go for his head, just go for the body when Canelo's got you against the ropes. Whenever Callum Smith was against the ropes, I just thought, this is your opportunity to just let something back at him, let something go back at him. Instead, he just covered up, like we talked about last week. The high guard was gonna fuck him up. He's too easy. He gets trapped too easy, and his feet just stops. He just stops moving and waits for the combination to wait for 2-3 shots, and it got quite easy for Canelo at some point, which was quite surprising.
Yeah, in terms of what we sort of spoke about last week and just generally a few weeks before when we spoke about the fight, I think pretty much everything we said is what sort of happened in the fight. Callum Smith conceded his height repeatedly. Whenever he stopped on the ropes, that's probably the worst thing you can do with someone like Canelo. Stop on the ropes and give him a chance to just unload on you with his combination punching. Also, the fact that he sort of tucks up and leans forward. So again, he's conceding his height on the ropes, which is probably, again, it's just not the right way to approach any opponent, let alone Canelo Alvarez. I think within the first round, Canelo pretty much stepped forward and closed the distance. Smith obviously put the jab out there, but I didn't see the jab really having any sort of effect on the fight overall. Canelo just made it look very, very easy and just very, very simple. And I know Canelo's look, he's improved so much over the last few years. It's actually scary how good the guy is right now. But I genuinely just sat there in awe watching that fight. I thought, wow, this guy's obviously so much bigger than him. We know that. But in terms of Callum Smith being a guy who, even the catch and throw, he didn't even get a chance to really catch any of Canelo's punches and throw back with the hook. He took that away from him. After the fight, it's been revealed that in the third or fourth round, he's torn a bicep or a tricep, which of course that would have hindered his ability with his lead hand. But at the end of the day, that's happened through Canelo landing punches on him. So the injury is not an excuse, and Callum hasn't made an excuse. He just come out and said it. But the performance from Callum was underwhelming, but it's because Canelo's just so good and he just beat him up, especially from like round 7, 8 onwards. He was just beating him up. I think there could have been points where if Canelo really went for it more, he could have stopped him. But Smith, there's points was holding him, looking at the clock, trying to, just kill time in rounds. he was pretty much done. I think after round 6 or 7, he was mentally, I think he's done. I don't think he thought he could win. He stayed in there, fair play to him. But again, this whole thing about giving people credit for staying in there, it's the biggest fight of your career. You got to go over broke. I don't feel like Callum did that, or even if he did, he just wasn't good enough. Canelo just showed that he is pound for pound number one beyond any shadow of a doubt. That was a dominant performance. I don't think I scored around to Callum Smith, even though he did good bits in there, and the commentary from DAZN was pretty bad. Didn't give him any credit for anything. There were parts of rounds where he did well, but Canelo was just that much better. That's what I think. I don't know about you.
Yeah, 100%. I think with Smith, in terms of his effort, and this was a lot like the Ryder fight at times, with his. So when we talked last week about, his, how Ryder kind of shot like a shot upstairs and quick body shot, and Smith just leans back, hands up. It's like he wants you. He's like, oh yeah, do you want to land a few more? All right, go on, then I'll just wait for you to finish, And when he talks about, I'm fighting to the level of my competition and everything, you can say that, right? But at the same time, a technical flaw or a habit is not sometimes just down to the opposition. Maybe that's you can show lack of urgency, you can maybe be a bit lazy, but we've seen it enough times from Callum Smith now. When someone's shorter, he gets backed up and it's too easy. Someone like Canelo, you can't stand there with a high guard unless you are willing, like I was saying, to really, really throw back. And you have to be, you understand you don't want to throw back and open himself up, right? But at the end of the day, what other option did he really have when Canelo was closest to you? Because at long range, Callum Smith couldn't do anything, right? So I just think in that moment he should have done more. But in terms of like his effort and how much he tried, yeah, Canelo was just too good. I don't think Callum Smith. He tried his best. There's no doubt about it. But he hasn't got big fight experience. It was quite clear to see. It was so like even the way he was looking at the clock and everything. It's like, bro, and the way he was handling certain rounds. It's clear to see he's not, been in with enough top fighters. And half injured George Groves, John Ryder. It's not good enough, before you face a Canelo. When you have rounds going against you and everything at a high level. I think he bought into the idea that he didn't fight up to the level of competition a bit too much. I think sometimes that's like a way out instead of maybe I wasn't good in these technical areas, because it's happened loads of times. I've watched him loads of times get backed up so easily, right? So to a certain point, you have to understand that it's a flaw that you have. It's not just your lack of motivation, and sometimes talking about it as being a lack of motivation is like a way out, a lack of accountability kind of thing, where you kind of you're not really dealing with the issue that you have. You're thrown under the carpet, and it came to show, because that was, aside from that, that's where he lost the fight, isn't it? Do you not think that's the only thing and the reason for why he lost the fight? He was getting backed up way too easy, and you have an opportunity right there to sneak in a quick body shot, Canelo, while he's throwing at you. It's good playing possum, but Canelo even thought that you were gonna throw back. Could you not tell that? Like Canelo was thinking that you were playing possum, but you wasn't really, was you? Because you didn't. Even when he was covering up, I thought you were talking about him being good on the inside, but he did nothing on the inside. Like, if you can't land on Canelo from the outside, which it was literally impossible. And I think his height and everything made it even worse for him, because it's too easy for Canelo to fight tall fighters these days. He makes it too easy, especially that type of tall. And when Canelo got on the inside, that's your best option, Callum Smith, in my opinion. So it wasn't the best option before the fight, but during the fight, you come to the conclusion that I think inside is your only way you can even do anything. Forget winning, just something. And there was really nothing coming back. Yeah, he stayed in there, he did all right, but he wasn't good enough, like your famous tweet today. It's very true, like giving a person credit is like, let's just call it what it is first. Callum Smith wasn't good enough, and then we can say he's brave. Let him not be the brave being the first thing that you say. I mean, yeah, he took some decent shots. He stayed in there, but it's a sporting contest. We don't have to be so lovey-lovey all the time. Like, let's just call it what it is. Callum Smith was not good enough to beat Canelo. And Canelo is, I mean, what level is Canelo at? He could be one of the greatest of all time by the time he ends his career. And then Callum Smith went 12 rounds. It's nothing bad about it. But when people start that rhetoric all the time, oh, he's so brave, well done. He's so brave, well done. Let's just call it what it is. It's a sporting contest. And someone loses, they lose. Just because they're British doesn't mean that we have to coddle him so hard. You know, he did fuck all against Canelo and he got twice. So that's it. And, you know, and now let's just say that and then say, but he tried. He definitely tried, but there was nothing he could have done. He tried. And, you know, all his family and stuff, I've seen some interviews saying he's gutted and everything. And, you know, respect to him, you know, he gave his best. So there's no doubt there, but yeah, that's basically what I think.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, in terms of, like you said about sweeping it under the carpet and whatnot, there's a level that Callum Smith is at, clearly. There's a lot of deficiencies he's got. There's a lot of things he's good at. There's a lot of things he's bad at. That is ultimately how it goes in boxing. There's very few fighters who are good at everything, like, you know, Canelo, for example, who is currently probably one of the most complete fighters in the sport. I think people obviously have jumped on the whole, you know, Joe Gallagher, once again, disaster class, you know, as a trainer, not giving, you know, him the right instructions, this and that. But the reality is, if he hasn't taught Callum Smith how to fight tall or how to use his attributes up until this point, he's not going to be able to teach him that randomly before the fight, and he's not going to be able to change the way he fights naturally. I think from long range, like you said, it was hard for him to land. He couldn't really get anything off from that point. Canelo saw it coming, you know, ducked and just, you know, rolled with things and made it very, very hard for him to land. When they were up close, sort of mid to close range, you saw Callum Smith repeatedly just open up and throw a right uppercut, which missed by a mile every time. And Canelo just leapt back or, you know, turned, whatever it was. And he made it look so easy. So, again, he just, I don't want to say he got exposed because he's fighting the best fighter on the planet, bar none. So it just shows how good Canelo is, again, that he made him look that elementary. But it kind of goes back to whenever me and you talk about British boxing and the way the fighters are schooled. There's a lot of just basic things that they do, and there's not a lot more nuance to their fight. You know, their fight game, the plans in the ring. He should have fought long. He should have, you know, kept him at the end of a jab if he could, and he should have used his attributes, but he didn't do it. And we kind of predicted that was going to be the case. And he pretty much got beat up, especially the last 3, 4, 5 rounds. He was getting beaten up. And my question to you is, someone like Canelo who's come from 147, 154, 160, he's gone up to 175, dropped back down to 168 now. How hard is this guy hitting, and how serious of a threat is his power?
I think he definitely put, as you saw, a dent in Callum Smith. I think he punches hard enough to definitely put people not out, but, you know, if he like we saw, but I don't want the Kovalev thing's a bit, you know, exaggerated. I think he's got enough power. I think he's definitely a power puncher. You know, I don't think he's a knockout artist, but I think he's definitely a power puncher at 168. He's arguably the hardest puncher of all the champions. So, you know.
Yeah, I think
not saying a lot. The division has more boxers, I think, than punchers, really. That's just the way it goes right now, right?
I think, like you said, out of the 3 current champions, him, Plant, and Billy Joe Saunders, he probably is the hardest puncher, and I think that's probably pretty much nailed on. I don't see Billy Joe Saunders or Caleb Plant. I know styles make fights, but I don't think those two could have put a dent in Callum Smith the way he did yesterday. He proper busted him up bad. You know what I mean? Not only did he cause the arm injury, he busted him up to the body and the face pretty badly. Which again just goes to show how special Canelo is, man. We were watching an all-time great. I mean, like the Instagram post I put up last in the morning after the fight. You know, the last icon of the last era was, you know, Mayweather, and behind him was Manny Pacquiao. And now this era, it's just Canelo. The guy has leveled up so much. And when Mayweather said after their fight, when they did the press conference, he said, "This is the next guy. You know, he might have lost to me, but trust me, 5 years from now, this guy is going to be the king. He is the king of boxing after me, after I'm gone." And literally, as Mayweather said it, pretty much, you know, the 2 years that they were side by side after that until Mayweather retired, Canelo was like the number 2 guy. And then as soon as Mayweather went, Canelo has just gone from strength to strength since then. And he's given us some, you know, amazing performances, some great nights. And he's only 30 years old. He's a 4-weight world champion, 3-time Ring Magazine champion, 3-time Unified champion at 3 weight classes. What is it about Canelo that makes him so special? What are his key qualities as a boxer?
I think firstly, his mentality sets him apart from most. Also, all his tough fights, he's took tough fights since a young kid, right? And like we always talk about career development and matchmaking and so forth. He's took fights that he probably shouldn't have, like awkward fights, Lara, drought fights. But in terms of his development, that has made him who he is today. And, you know, that's the whole game. You see fighters like, people have long careers like Floyd, Pacquiao, Ward. These fighters, they always take the fight against the best. And because of their intelligence inside and outside the ring, but they end up just developing at a different rate than most other fighters. Even Tyson Fury, you know, that's another example. These fighters, they can keep developing and getting better the better competition that they face. It just brings something different out of them, you know. And Canelo, like, also after the Floyd Mayweather fight, every single person was saying that he should change trainers. That was the worst game plan ever. But he stayed with Reynosos, and, you know, look at how well that has worked out for him. You know what I mean? Look at their relationship's amazing. You know, I love seeing that, and you proper tell that Canelo respects Eddie so much. Like, he's like, anything he says, you know, he's the one who told him to move up this way, to do everything, and he just respects him. He listens to him. He knows he has his best intention at heart, and he always says he's the boss. Like, I'll just do the boxing. You know what I mean? And like, someone who's made that much money, you could become a cocky cunt at some point, but you can tell that he's really, really, you know, he has that level of respect and love for Eddie, which obviously must be deserved. And I think that's the difference. You know, I think if you look at certain people's careers, if they have the same trainer and the trainer develops with the fighter, they end up doing really well too. But with Canelo, it's 100% his mindset, it's his confidence, and his training. It's just a good mixture of everything. And like I said, I mean, defensively, that was his best performance ever, you know. And Callum Smith is not a bad combination puncher, you know. That was unreal, honestly. Like, he's got a whole different new style now. Canelo is. I'm already interested to see Canelo against someone short again, to see what he's gonna do, because I'm kind of who's gonna beat him at 168, you know. People talking about Saunders, you know. I think Saunders can give him trouble. I used to think Saunders could beat him, but Canelo's improved way. I mean, he's improved more than any other fighter in boxing. He is the most improved fighter in boxing. Every single fight you see Canelo in, he gets better. I don't know any other fighter who gets better at his level. We've seen most of his career, and can you tell me any other fighter who's developed as much as him?
No, the answer's pretty simple. You can't. I think going back to the point you just made about, you know, Saunders or someone like that beating him, of course, the trouble that Canelo sort of had that we thought was his, you know, footwork. And if someone has, you know, fast feet and then can box, they'll give him trouble.
Well, he did have it though. It's not like we thought it. He did have it.
Yeah, no, obviously, but he's developed beyond that now. I think, but of course, we've got to see him in with someone like that. So Saunders would be a good.
I mean, the footwork aspect of it is what makes it another dimension that maybe we haven't seen Canelo deal with as of late. So
I'll be honest, I've never really bought into the Saunders would beat him. Yeah, I mean, I get the whole giving problems for a little while. I don't think Saunders would have concentration.
UK fans, I think.
Yeah, no, I'm not deluded like that. I don't think Saunders has the concentration.
I was the one who said it. Yeah, I don't know why I said it.
Oh, did you say? I don't think.
The Lemieux fight. Yeah, my brother always says it now. No matter if I talk anything about Canelo, my brother straight that you said Saunders. You know what I mean? So I fucked up.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The Lemieux fight is a sensational performance in its own right, but you got to look at the context in it of who he fought. Lemieux is what he is. He's a big puncher, average boxer, and
very one-dimensional.
Yeah, exactly. Canelo is the best of the best, elite. Saunders has not done it against an elite fighter yet. You know what I mean? Yes, we can argue about he's been at the ring for this and that. That's not our problem. That's his problem as a boxer, whether he failed a drug test for valid reasons or he was spiked or that nose thing, where the fuck happened. That was it. He had nose spray, nasal spray.
Yeah, that's
whatever it was. Yeah. I've had enough of all this sympathy now, yeah? That's out the window. Whether it's whoever the fuck it is, whichever fighter it is, I'm a bit sick and tired of the whole sympathy and all this business. It is what it is, unfortunately. If you're ready for a fight, you're ready. If you're not, you're not, yeah? I think Canelo smashes Saunders. Yes, I think he would give him trouble for a little while, but I do think Canelo would stop him. I think if he hit too hard, hits too clean, and I think Billy Joe Saunders mentally, I don't think he has the right concentration to keep up that against the Canelo. Against David Lemieux, yes, he did it, that's fine, but Canelo's going to pressure him properly and make him think about everything, you know what I mean? And it's a massive fight, so there's still some sort of mental pressure that any human being would have getting into the ring, especially against Canelo.
Do you think at 168, do you not think it's a very interesting style matchup?
Yeah, I think the
more
style matchup is interesting.
This one.
Yeah.
I mean, Billy Joe Saunders is more proven than Smith.
Yeah, definitely. I think in terms of style, it's more intriguing, definitely, 100%, because we've seen him against tall fighters the last 3 or 4 fights now. We've seen what he did. So and we knew sort of what sort of fight that Callum Smith would fight. So we had a very strong hint as to the way it was going to go, and that proved to be right. With Saunders, we've not seen him fight someone that fleet-footed since, Lara, probably, realistically.
Yeah,
so,
I think so.
Yeah, so I don't see anyone at 168 beating him.
I think the Saunders talk today is like Yassine when Josh Taylor was saying it too, and you know, it just becomes a bit too predictable, isn't it? It's like, you know, everyone who's going to say Saunders is most of the time has got some sort of affiliation with whoever, you know what I mean? It's a bit predictable, you know, these predictions and these criticisms. And you know what I've been pissing me off, and I haven't said on the last 2 podcasts because I keep forgetting. I want to say it now. You know, when Dubois and Joyce happened with the quit thing and all that, so people were basically saying, oh, how can people say that it's quitting? And do you know what I mean? That was a whole thing going on. And it's funny because, you know, there was a guy on the asylum who said this, but it's so true. You know, all these media outlets, all these YouTube media outlets were literally, every single headline was, did Dubois quit? Every single person they asked was like, you know, Macklin and, you know, Colwell and just whatever they talked to, Ben, all these people that get interviewed after fights, right? And they were talking in the interviews like, and they were talking in a way like, oh, well, social media saying, it's like, you are literally stirring the pot way more than people on social media, but you're just acting like you're not doing it. Do you know what I'm saying? And you know what? That was pissing me off. And it just reminds me of this whole thing where, you know, people are just kind of, it becomes a bit predictable, man. That's just my little rant on that. But anyway, back to the point.
Yeah, like you said about just my little piece on that, about affiliations and obviously backing, you know, British fighters and whatnot. I saw a few of your tweets this past week, you know, saying, what does this mean? And, you know, I was openly backing Canelo in this fight. I'm a Canelo fan. I like Callum Smith. He's a Brit. I'd like to see him do well. But I was backing Canelo in this fight openly, all over Instagram, all over Twitter.
But it's like you have to explain yourself. Like, you have to defend that.
Exactly.
But it's a strange mentality, isn't it? Because it's just a sport. Like, I get it. It's because it's a fight, yeah? So people start, if you say, oh, he can hurt him. So people start taking it personal and think, oh, hurt him, you want him to get hurt. Like, no, listen. Boxing is just a physical contact sport. If this was badminton, then it's not as personal if we talk about who's winning. It's just a fucking sport. I'm sick of people putting so many feelings and emotions and fence-sitting into everything. Yeah. At the end of the day, if you don't want to pick a person, don't do it. It's not a problem. Yeah. You know, if it is your mate and you don't want to say it, that's fine. But don't get interviewed and then don't say shit. And like, what are you talking about? Oh, I don't want to. It's nothing against the Smith brothers, but Canelo's like, what the fuck? What? It's just. I'm just not into that type of thing that's going on recently. It's pissing me off, man. Every single time. It's like, oh, no offense to this, no offense to that. Listen, it's a fight. It's boxing. If it was fencing, we would talk about it like that, and it wouldn't be as personal or as hurtful or whatever. It's a bit weird. People they got their heads on right.
You know what it is with these people? It's a lot of tribalism and patriotism. Yeah, that's what it is. I'll back your own Brits, blah blah. I've been guilty of saying it sometimes as well on Twitter. You know, it is what it is. But I'm saying at this point now, I've kind of grown out of that now. Like, if you like a fighter, you back who you like. It doesn't matter whether he's fighting a Brit or he's fighting.
Yeah, and if it is a Brit, you might want to back him also because they're British.
You back them both.
Also because they're British. Whatever. Right?
Yeah, whoever wins, best man.
If Callum Smith won, we would have been buzzing because he's British and because exactly. But that's fine too. It shows you can have both sides. You can just look at it as in an objective way. It doesn't have to be so emotional. You know. This is what Tony Bellew was saying today.
Oh, forget him, man. I'm not even giving me time.
I mean, what are you talking about? Like, you know what I mean? You're talking about Canelo, and you're talking about his starting weight, comparing it to his weight now. When he was 15 when he
15 when he started, exactly.
There's a context to every story, Bellew. You know, because you gained the same amount of weight in your career, you absolute fool.
Yeah, and you're a lot older as well, so.
And who is, and with Bellew's point was that he moved up and he's, what's he saying, laying people unconscious. Who has he knocked out?
Only Amir Khan recently,
and Kovalev.
Yeah.
Amir Khan and Kovalev.
Kovalev was unconscious. He was a stoppage in it. Khan was unconscious.
Yeah, kind of unconscious in a way, but I know what you're saying. Like,
Khan was out flat out, but he's a smaller guy, so that's fair.
Khan was out. Yeah, Khan was out, but that's Khan, innit? Like, that's the size difference, and it's Khan, so like, you know. But he's not laid. He's not been fucking smashing through Golovkin, and he couldn't put a dent in Golovkin, really. I mean, in a sense of like, you know, buzzing him, and that's Golovkin. Yeah. So if he did do that, okay, no problem. But like we were talking about last week, if people get accused of steroids, let's look at what's changed. Are they looking any different? Whatever? No, they're not. They're looking the same. Like, whatever, man. If that was the other way around, and he sparked Canelo, Bellew wouldn't say, "Oh, Smith might have been on this, or might have been on that."
Of course not. That's his boy, innit? Rotunda ABC, home of champions. As he always says so much. Again, it's just that tribalism.
I retweeted his quote today. Oh, he wouldn't want to live with Smith on the inside, and oh man.
Yeah, he made him miss every punch, man. It is what it is.
But listen, we can't talk because we don't fight. So you know, he's a fighter, innit? The guy who said David Price was going to take over the heavyweight division.
Yep.
So he's got valid opinion now.
Fair enough.
That's proven.
Yeah. So again, so Canelo, look, sensational performance. Made it look literally very, very, you know, elementary. The way he made Callum Smith, he nullified everything and he dominated him, beat him up, gave him a proper pasting. So in terms of what's next for Canelo, what would you envisage him doing next year? Who do you see him getting in with?
If I had to, so he said that they want to fight in Mexico. So he's probably going to fight Yildirim next.
Yes, he said he wants to fight in February, so that'll probably be Yildirim.
But just looking aside from that crap, because listen, that'll be a fun fight to watch. Because you know, the thing is, you know that Canelo is going to fight the best fighters anyway. So watching him smash Yildirim up,
Yildirim's going to get sparked in 2 rounds, bro.
It's just, it'll just be one of them fights where you know that it's going to be on the inside, and Yildirim's going to go for it too.
Yeah. James Kirkland style,
and have you seen Yildirim's manager?
Yeah, he's a funny guy as well, man. Oh my god.
So listen, I don't mind that. You know, the Turks will be up for it. But aside from that crap, I think ideally, this is if I could choose. I think he should fight Caleb Plant next, and then fight Saunders for the Undisputed. I think that would be cool. But at the same time, I don't know if Saunders doesn't get that fight next. I mean, what's he gonna do? You know what I mean? And he's one of them fighters. So, but I'm just saying, ideally, if everyone's being normal and concentrating like they should be, like Saunders should be, and staying on weight, then I think I would love to see the Saunders fight for all the belts. I think that would be fun. You know what I mean? I think Plant's good, but
Canelo's levels, isn't it?
Canelo will eat him.
Yeah, he'd bust him up as well, I think.
Yeah, it's his style. You know, it's just. Who can beat Canelo now?
Literally, you know what I was saying yesterday? I put a tweet out about it. It didn't go as viral as my tweet today, but anyway, he's got that Floyd syndrome now, where as soon as he puts on a dominant performance now, they have to find someone that's so big and so you know, bigger the next weight class to say, oh, he has to fight him now because they want to see him lose.
That's what we talked about last week. You said Beterbiev last week, remember? And that's what's been the talk, and I think that's it. I don't think anyone else can touch him.
But you know what? I'm genuinely being serious when I say this, It's all about time in boxing, Certain fights.
Don't say it.
But don't say what?
You think Beterbiev, give me Beterbiev.
I think he can give him a very good fight, I'm not saying he dominates him. I'm saying that's not just a straight Beterbiev knocks him out kind of thing. Yeah, give Canelo credit.
It's only one weight class up, really.
Exactly. So. Yeah. Obviously, Beterbiev is a big guy. He's boiling down to 175, so he's obviously the much bigger guy naturally. But we're saying Canelo is the best fighter pound for pound, the most complete fighter. Head movement, defense, offense, everything he can do pretty much, I'm not saying he's going to go in there and dominate him. I think it would be a competitive fight and pretty close, but I think, you know what? If they time it right, he can beat him. Beterbiev's not, invincible. We've seen that already. If someone is I know Callum Johnson's a big guy and he hits hard, but if he can give him trouble, I think Canelo could do well against him as well. Of course, Beterbiev's a beast.
Just in love from last night.
Who is me? Oh, no. You get what I'm saying, though, yeah? As in, it's not just a straight gimme fight. If there's anyone who can go up in weight class and give, the man in that weight class a problem, I think it's Canelo. I don't think Bivol beats Canelo, to be honest. I think he can dance around him for a bit.
I know what you're saying, but he said he's not. He said he's not. So
yeah, he said no, obviously, but that just goes to show that they knew Kovalev was shot, and they just did it for the belt, which is fine. But he knocked him out, so he did his thing.
And
he said 160,
168. 168.
That's fine.
So, if he stays around that weight, and so that's why I'm thinking if he fights Plant next, it might be good because get in touch with the PBC people or Fox people or whatever that side is. Once they get a line of communication, then we can get Charlo, we can get Eubank. I really want to watch Eubank Jr. against Canelo. There's so many fights. I want to watch all these fights. Uppercut City, uppercut with uppercut, bang, bang.
That's the one. Eubank's going to miss everyone and Canelo's going to land everyone. That's it. But yeah, literally, like you said, it would be good to have conversations now between him and PBC, open up that line of communication, like you said. Plant is obviously the fight that makes sense because you got to bear in mind Canelo's putting a lot of muscle as well in it. So he's come from 175 down to 168 the last year.
Do you not think he looked solid at 168?
He was very, very solid. Very solid.
And there was not a big difference on 175?
No.
Like, in terms of his body.
Actually,
Did you think it looked different than 175?
Not massively, no.
Because I really think that he looks a lot more cut up at 168. He looks
well, yeah, he's going to look more defined probably because he hasn't got as much muscle.
But I'm saying in terms of like his back and in terms of the way he punches, since that 175 fight, when I look at that Rocky, I know Rocky Fielding's only a couple of rounds, but the way he was punching and moving, he looked a lot faster in at 168, and I think this is a great weight for him. Yeah,
this might be the prime weight for him now. Then moving forward, he's 30 years old.
Imagine he becomes undisputed in both weights.
That's what I'm saying. If he becomes undisputed at 168, that's massive.
And 160.
160. Who?
Because he said he wants to still go back to 162.
Yeah, of course. He wants to fight Spence at 160. Charlo, all these guys.
You know what? Him and Spence, that would be a really good fight. Right? I still think Canelo beats him, but I'm saying it'll be better because Spence can be aggressive and move, and they'll punch up on the inside a bit.
He'll push the pace and he'll be happy to exchange him on the inside, absolutely.
And if it's on the inside, it'll be a more competitive fight because Spence is good on the inside too. I think he'll get twatted though.
Yeah, I think
it'll be better than it won't be as easy as
we all think.
Callum Smith. I felt sorry for Callum Smith. I felt like his height played against him a bit because it was a bit awkward for a minute to move, and it was like
And he's got such long arms when he's on the inside. It's hard for him to get his punches together quickly. Canelo landed twice before he even threw a punch.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but he should have. I think he could have done a bit more on the inside. But if Canelo stays in both weight divisions, if he becomes the first undisputed fighter ever 168, that is historic. You know what I mean? That is amazing, and he's being great. If he beats Plant, if he beats Smith, Plant, Benavidez still undefeated, right? Yeah. And Saunders. That's 3 undefeated fighters, and if you just say Benavidez was a champion anyway, because he's at the weight in it, so well, if he's gonna stay at the weight, but let's say he comes at 168 and has some good fights. If he beats them, he beats 3 undefeated. Well, one's an ex-world champion, but 2 reigning world champions, and he does that actually with Callum Smith, that's 4 in total, and he becomes undisputed. That's
beast
insane.
Mode. Yeah, beast mode. He's going for legacy, and that's it. So I think it's pretty clear. I think we discussed it already, but Canelo is the icon for this era, isn't he? Really, let's be honest.
Yeah.
The way things are going, he's already pretty much cemented that he is the man, and that moving forward, he's the guy that is going to carry boxing forward. I think he's got a hell of a career still ahead of him. The next, 4 or 5 years, 2-3 fights a year. This guy's going to be. I think he will overtake.
I think he can 100% take more control of his career now. And maybe they can fight 3 times a year. Go Mexico, go this place, go that.
Yeah, do whatever the fuck you want to do. You're the boss.
Exactly, it'll be amazing. And I think if he stays more active, I think it'll be really good for him.
Absolutely, definitely. I think.
Look how good he looked after more than a year off.
Yeah, but that's because he lives a life as well, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
He's always ready to go, and again, that's a good role model for boxing to show that this guy's ready whenever.
Look, at the end of the day, for young fighters coming up, there is really good blueprints and enough evidence for this generation online to see why did this guy fail, why did this guy succeed, and just try to follow those steps of the people who succeeded. It's quite evident. It's just hard work, dedication, focus, discipline, being humble, not thinking you're the shit ever, and you can go really far, innit? Like
Absolutely.
Canelo's proven.
So yeah, we're living in the era of Canelo, and you know what? I'm proud to be a part of this era, man. What a fighter, honestly, sensational fighter. So yeah, we'll move on from there. I know you wanted to talk about Lomachenko, so take the floor, my friend. Go for it.
Yeah, I just watched the Lomachenko. I watched a few clips on Twitter and stuff, and obviously people were highlighting the bribery quotes, and I thought, and people were comparing them to the Dossa. So I was just like, all right, let me just have a look properly. And basically, so remember the one scorecard? What was the one scorecard? The crazy one, was it
119, 109, I think.
Yeah, so I mean, he's referring to that in terms of in that bribery claim, and I mean, I kind of see what he's saying. That's a crazy scorecard, right? And anything else? He was just speaking about how he wants the rematch and how his shoulder injury impacted him and those type of things. I didn't think it was a lot of sour grapes. He did say that Lopez fought well, and he was just saying that he really wants a rematch. So that's going to be really interesting. And he's saying that he knows that Teo is not going to take the rematch. So I don't know what's going to happen, but he said that his manager is going to have a meeting with Aaron soon or whatever, because they haven't spoke really yet. And you know what? I hope that rematch happens, and that'll be a massive fight for next year. I know Teofimo don't want it, but money talks at the end of the day, you know.
I haven't actually watched the interview in terms of the whole thing, so I have tweeted out saying Loma needs to kind of get over it now, move forward. If they get the rematch,
but if he wants a rematch, do you not think that that's a good fight?
It's an excellent fight. I'd love to see it again. I've got no issue with the rematch happening. What I'm saying is, if it doesn't happen and the way things are going, it doesn't look like it, then he needs to move forward now and get over it. Take the loss for what it was. Forget
people
that one scorecard.
I get people talk about the rematch clause.
Yeah.
But he said that he wasn't really it wasn't like they took it out on purpose. It wasn't really a lot of discussion over it. He said that his managers kind of dealt with that, because I know that was a big issue for Teo's side, he wasn't going to give us a rematch and blah, blah, blah.
Well, evidently that was a mistake. That was a mistake, because they had locked in at least, he's guaranteed to get the rematch, and he can come back with a 100% shoulder, and then we'll see who's better at the two, you know what I mean? But if the rematch happens, happy to watch it, no problem. Two great fighters, and if Loma's 100%, then it's an even better fight than before. And Teofimo will have to push the pace more as well, and show us what he's really about as well. But the fight happened. I felt Teofimo won fairly clearly. It wasn't a domination, but he won clearly. You know what I mean? That's how I felt.
He thought he won.
Say again, sorry?
He thought he won, but he wasn't saying that it was a landslide. He said that I was definitely behind.
Yeah.
I got started late.
That's fair.
So people who said that, why don't people give Wilder the same energy?
That's completely different thing. Right? Completely different thing.
This is very, very different.
This is a certain group of fans from a certain place are saying this. Yeah, that's the reality, and they're all deluded because of who Wilder is, where he comes from. That's the reality, and because he's American, Americans tend to be just as deluded as some Brits can be sometimes.
I think they're way worse.
Yeah. In this particular situation, they're a hell of a lot worse than plenty of other situations as well. But this is obviously, look, the Wilder thing, I don't want to talk about because it's silly. We know that's bullshit, yeah. These Americans just can't take it that the UK has come and dominated them, and that now we're the ones calling the shots when it comes to the main division of boxing. So it won't last forever, but for now, we're on top, so they'll have to just sit and take it. But yeah, so Loma for me needs to sort of, either if there is a rematch, wicked. If not, just crack on. Move down to 130 and carry on in it.
Imagine the build-up though. But he said he's not going to move down until he unfinished business.
Okay, well then they need to get the rematch on. Then he needs to do whatever he can to get the rematch. And
that'll be a great build-up.
That'll be brilliant build-up. And then if he's 100% in the ring, then he probably be able to pull it off. You know what I mean? But Teofimo, I'm liking the way yesterday. He's gone there and he's firing shots at everyone. I like his attitude. He wants to smoke with everyone. I'm a big fan of Teofimo now. I rate him. Not just as a fighter, but just the type of character he is. You can tell he wants to smoke with everyone. He wants to be great. So no doubt he's going to have an excellent career as well. This is probably going to be the last podcast of 2020. So I was hoping to discuss with you just about 2020 as a year in boxing, just to discuss some of the best fights you can think about, some of the best performances, and also potentially your fighter of the year if you have one. So for you, if you want to just fire off some of the better fights you remember this year.
I think performance of the year. I think I might give that to Tyson Fury. I think the way he dominated.
Dominance,
obviously there's a big gap in the year in it. So the way he dominated that fight. We've heard Fury say a lot of things, and we've heard him do the exact opposite. Like, I'm gonna knock Klitschko out, and it was like, So the fact that he did that in that way, and the build up to that fight, everything, it was amazing.
Yeah.
The entrance. I've got that Patty Klein song saved since that day. I mean, it's amazing. I was that heavyweight fight. I was mesmerized watching. I was so. When you forget what time it is, you forget if you got work next day.
You don't care, bro. That's a moment.
You're just like, oh my god, the Tyson Fury just came back. I remember watching his videos online, thinking, "Oh, I'll be quiet. I can't be able to listen to this guy talking about Joshua and Wilder and Klitschko and whatever." But he come back
after all that,
and so quickly does so much. I mean, I just think the whole picture, the whole storyline of the heavyweight division is really interesting. And obviously Eddie been saying that they go into contract soon and everything. So I'm just so excited for that. But in terms of performance of the year, I say Fury. What would you say?
I have to agree, Fury without a doubt. I think in terms of, again, like you said, the story of Fury's comeback as well, that kind of brought it full circle. You know what I mean? Actually going out there and then dominating Wilder the way he did.
Said exactly what he was going to do.
And no one believed him. But the thing is, I'm not saying this now. This is obviously nearly a year after he did it. But in the build up to the second fight, I kept saying to my colleagues at work, I said, but why does no one believe him? And obviously, he's a bullshitter. I get it. He talks a lot of shit, and that's his character. That's fine. But I said, if he is 18 or 19 stone compared to Wilder, being smaller, why is it so hard to believe that he can't stop him? In the 12th round of the first fight, when he stood and traded with him at points, he was hurting him. You know what I mean? Wilder's got stick legs. I was saying to my colleagues that I think he's going to stop him. I didn't think he's going to go out and dominate him the way he did. But I genuinely said to my colleagues that I reckon Fury's going to stop him.
But I don't think stoppage. I don't think like in terms of a stoppage. I think that 12th round we saw he could definitely. And I've seen Wilder hurt, so I knew he could put a dent in him, and he did. But anyway, I knew that he could do well. But I thought outbox him, and then when he was landing combination, just put a bit more on it. I did, like you said, that's so. But he just ran at him.
Yeah, he ran to the centre of the ring.
Wilder was like, yo, what are you doing?
Yeah, and he put him on the back foot straight away, so he took his confidence straight away there and then, because Wilder's not a very good boxer. So performance of the year, I think me and you are on the same page. You got to give it to Tyson Fury. I'm very, very excited to see him back in the ring. If it is Joshua next, then that's even better. But Tyson Fury, definitely performance of the year. In terms of the
what about knockout of the year?
Knockout of the year, I think it goes to Gervonta.
I disagree. I think it goes to Povetkin.
Oh, well, it's a similar knockout.
Yeah, but just look at it like this, right? Okay. Santa Cruz is moving up, right? He is the underdog. It's quite. You said that he was going to get twatted, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm on about the actual physical knockout, not the context of it. I'm not talking about the size.
Yeah, but that's not how. We have to add the context. This is the storylines of boxing, innit?
All right, mate. Go on then.
We have to talk about. Dylan White had dropped him twice.
The round before. Yep.
It was like, listen, I was upstairs watching this on my phone, right? I'm just lying back and I'm just like, right, okay. Every time he was getting touched, barely, he getting dropped. So obviously I'm just waiting for Dylan White to knock him out. I mean, it's coming any time. And I see Dylan White just get catapulted into the air, and just like, I mean. I was literally watching it like, what the fuck just happened?
Should I tell you something? Genuinely.
Yeah.
I'm not bullshitting when I say this, yeah. I was not shocked when he got knocked out at all, yeah. I didn't say, oh, where did that come from? I swear to God, I can send you a text message. I'll send you a screenshot after this, actually. My cousins on the group chat asked me, oh, Sherry, who do you think's going to win? Is Povetkin any good? I said, Geezer, listen to me. Yeah, Povetkin, whether he's a steadhead or not, yeah, the Geezer's bodied plenty of people. I said, Dylan White's shit. At some point, he's going to get caught with something crazy. Come underneath and come up with a big uppercut.
Yeah, I thought that too, because Povetkin is so technically short with his hooks and really well, like, sound technically.
Yes.
So I always thought, Dylan White has to be so careful in this fight.
Yeah.
But
the way the fight was going.
Look at the way the fight was going, right?
Absolutely.
So that's out the window now. I knew that before the fight, but I thought, oh, Povetkin, don't out here. And then he just landed the uppercut from the deep deep place of hell. You know what I mean? And he just sent him right there. That was for the context of the heavyweight division, everything.
For the drama that it caused.
it was, and that was crazy. You know, it was definitely knockout of the year. I don't know how you can pick.
Oh man, about just the way it looked and the way it came, that was mad. Of course, context. Yeah, of course, the way you put it, excellent. No problem. I got no problem with saying that's.
Yeah, but even the knockout was still better though. Like the Gervonta knockout, 3 right hands came at him. It's not really rocket science.
Yeah, but
the way
Dylan White wasn't rocket science either. He was doing fuck all. He threw out a few jabs, missed them all.
I know, but Povetkin stood in the pocket, being dropped twice in the pocket by a catch counter.
Yeah.
Another catch counter was kind of coming, and he just still stood in the pocket and made that risk. Went for it.
I'm going for this.
So, to throw an uppercut from there, imagine how risky that is against Dylan White when you can easily get cracked by a hook coming, the right hook coming.
His best punch is his left hook as well, yeah.
Exactly, right or left hook or whatever can come back at him. And he still, the way, that was insane. That's Povetkin, 40 years old, 41 years old.
Old man as well, yeah.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I like Povetkin. He's fun. I don't know if the fight can happen again, the rematch, but yeah, you know what? That'd be sick if he just fucks off, man. They don't have the rematch. Dylan White, Mr. Victim, who didn't take the fights that he could have to become a world champion. Yeah. I don't like this whole sense of entitlement bullshit. You know what I mean? Should have fought Pulev. Yeah. If Pulev's shit, why don't you go fight him in Bulgaria? What are you scared of? If you're so good, go prove it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that is true. But at the same time, I get that point. But there is also points where, when they elevated Dominic Brazil in front of him all of a sudden, that was fucked up. But it's definitely not just. I think with the WBC, he's been unfairly treated.
Yeah.
Right.
That point. Yeah.
But I think his issue is not having a title shot or other belts. He wanted a WBC belt, right? But if you're looking at other titles, he probably could have pursued that. But at the same time, he went to that direction of the WBC, and he was not treated well at all.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question, actually, on this point here, since we're touching on it. If you're a boxer now, nothing is guaranteed in boxing, yeah? You're not guaranteed your next fight, yeah? If you have an opportunity to go fight for a world title or go fight Anthony Joshua at Wembley, do you start bitching or do you take the fight?
Well, the way that Dylan White was bitching about the rematch clause and how he wanted a bigger split, I mean, that's just ridiculous. That was the issue for the Wembley fight, right? It was in April 2018 or something.
April 2019.
He fought Paul. No, yeah, all right. So that got scrapped and he went to New York, innit, right?
Yeah.
But so Dylan White said his issue was in the rematch clause that AJ was still going to get a bigger split.
He's a bigger star.
That's just,
what do you expect?
60-40, you can get it close as you want, but for you to literally expect to get the bigger split, I think it's insane, and definitely that is, like with the whole thing with fighters, the level of delusion. There's so many ass lickers around them. There is so many. I think people on Twitter give them stick, but people see them in real life. They're always kissing their ass. I don't think they ever go through. They go through hostility, but not in the same way, right? There's not a lot of people who are like upfront and real. There's a lot of ass kissers, and they literally tell you what you want to hear all the time. And that's what blows these fighters' heads up, where they think that they deserve more than what they should really be getting. You know what I mean? Again, Dylan White, you can say in a way he's done really well,
Considering how limited he is, he's done well, definitely. And Eddie Hearns managed to turn him into a pay-per-view star, which is a bullshit move, but he's made him a lot of money, so fair play.
It's a bullshit move, but if the numbers are there, then...
Yeah, exactly. I'm not going to begrudge him that. He's just the other heavyweight.
But really, should Dylan White be a pay-per-view star?
No.
Don't know about that.
What's he done? You know what I mean?
That Parker fight, he won that by a headbutt.
Exactly.
Like they counted as a knockdown. If there wasn't for that, it would have been a draw.
Exactly.
So no, whatever.
Knockdown by Rivas and all this stuff as well. All these things.
But that knockout, that was definitely knockout of the year, in my opinion.
Very good knockout. Okay, so knockout of the year, that's fine. Povetkin White. So we're doing performance of the year. Okay, your top 3 fights of the year that you can remember off the top of your head in terms of actual proper fights.
I think I got a vote. It was a paid up handshake.
Yeah, that was mad. That was crazy. Even that knockout belongs in the top knockouts of the year. The way he leapt back with his knee, bloody hell, that was mad.
I think. So what do you say? Best fights of the year? Or?
Yeah, top 3 fights of the year that you enjoyed.
I got to put Wilder Fury there.
Yeah.
And got one more spot. I think I might put Teo Loma in there too. That was a really interesting fight.
Intriguing fight, yeah.
Yeah. What you got?
I think Zepeda Branchik's got to be in there. I don't know if it's number one, but it's got to be in there in terms of just brutal fight. I really enjoyed Chocolatito's performance against Yafai. I know it's not a big fight.
Oh yeah, that was really good.
I thought the comeback and the way he dominated him.
That's a performance of the year we should put on.
Exactly, the way he dominated, the way he came back.
Yafai just killed.
That was mad. That was brilliant performance from him. And also, let me think. Errol Spence. I thought what performance he put in against Danny Garcia. I thought Danny Garcia really dug down. A lot of people said, it was a shit fight. I don't think that was a shit fight. I thought that was a very good fight. That was an excellent fight. I think for Errol Spence to come back and show that level of clearance between him and someone like Danny Garcia, and for Danny Garcia to bite down and fight back the way he did, which we hadn't really seen him do for many years. You know what I mean? That was a brilliant fight. So for me, I'd probably go with those fights. And then outside of that, who would be your fighter of the year, and why? Proper reasoning.
See, I want to say Teofimo, but I just feel like the fight was really close. So I want to give that to Tyson Fury. Yeah,
I was going to say Teofimo as well, but the reality is that the fight wasn't as clear and as dominant as Tyson Fury and what Fury came back from over the last few years. To go out there and do exactly what you said.
That performance, that is unbelievable.
Yeah, and for him to be someone who's perceived as pillow-fisted, to go in there and ragdoll Wilder and bust him up and knock him down twice badly. And then all the controversies that's followed. You know what I mean? He shook the world. Yeah, one of them ones. So, Tyson Fury definitely, for me, he's got to be a fighter in 2020. It's just a shame he didn't get to get out again one more time. It'd been good to see him.
Yeah, there was great momentum.
Because the momentum, exactly. Now, if him and Joshua are next, that's what, 16, 17 months he's been out the ring.
But then it might have worked out for the best.
Who knows?
We don't know what could have happened in that third Wilder fight.
Yeah, true.
Injuries and whatever, cuts and stuff like that.
Absolutely. So, as long as Fury's training and he's in the right place mentally, and listen, I don't think Fury's gonna take Joshua as a joke. He knows he's the one guy that can threaten his legacy now. Yeah. He knows Joshua's that guy. It's between him and him now. Who's the best of this era? And
look at what he said about Joshua as a kid when he sparred him.
Absolutely. So he knows what threat he brings. He's not an idiot. He talks shit all the time. That's his whole shtick. But he knows. Oh, sorry, I hit my mic. He knows Joshua is that guy that presents the danger to his legacy. But I also think in his head he believes that he's that much better than him. So he needs to stay focused. And with someone like what's his name, Sugar Hill Stewart as well, I think is going to keep him honest and say, look, this is the guy that can really put a dent in you now and your legacy. You got to go out there and you got to put on a performance and the best performance you possibly can. So I think definitely Tyson Fury's fighter of the year, and hopefully that momentum carries through and him and Joshua can get it on next summer. That would be massive, man. What a fight. And any other points you want to make about 2020 or about boxing before we wrap up today?
No, not really. I'm just I really want to for 2021. Let's see what fights that, if we had 5 fights we could dream of, what would you say?
Obviously Errol Spence Crawford, Joshua Fury.
You got to say Joshua Fury number 1, right?
Yeah, I'm not even saying in number order. I'm just saying that as soon as I think of the name. But yeah, Joshua Fury number 1, Spence Crawford got to be number 2, and then everything else after that. It's tough, man. There's too many fights out there. I mean,
I love to watch Teo and Loma rematch.
Teo Loma rematch would be good to see. Yeah, I think Chocolatito Estrada was announced last night. That's happening in March.
Fight.
That's gonna be a brilliant fight. And who else can we? Bro, I want to see Thurman back in the ring, man. I just want to see Thurman back in the ring. He's wasting too much time. He's missed his prime now. That's the issue.
But even when he fought Pacquiao, he just didn't look 100%, did he?
Yeah, this is the issue in it. So I don't know if we'll ever see that Keith Thurman again, the old Keith Thurman. I think he's done.
I think AJ Fury, Spence Crawford, that's wishful. I think AJ Fury, hopefully.
That will happen. I think that'll happen.
A bit wishful.
Crawford, Spence ain't happening next year.
You know what? I'm jumping off the Spence hype train very soon because he's pissing me off a bit.
He's trying to be a businessman.
But even last night, it's annoying. It's just get over it, man. You know what I mean?
If you think you're good enough, just get in there and make the fight.
Too much posturing.
Yeah, get it on. I think it says it all when he said, we can bet 100,000. What did Crawford say? 1 million. Yeah, that's confidence in it. That's the difference.
It's just, why are you talking about splits on
splits.
live radio, TV? Why would you do that? It's weird. It's just that's never ever the way a fight has gotten made. It's the exact opposite. All as boxing fans, we've seen this happen before, and we know the route that is going down. And Spence is, you know what people say about Crawford, but Spence is the one I feel like is the one who's more, and that's why I've jumped more on the Crawford train lately, right? Because like you said, I used to be a bit of a, not the biggest fan of Terence Crawford, but seeing the way he talks about fighting these fighters, and look, I know it's not just talk with Crawford, and seeing the way Spence is, it's a bit distasteful from Spence's side, to be honest. So
yeah,
Team Bud. But that fight is the one for next year. So that one and AJ Fury, that'd be amazing.
It's like I think we mentioned last week as well when we were saying about these dream fights back in the days. Sugar Ray Leonard and Hitman, they got it on in the early 20s, man. What a fight! And these lot are 33, 34, or 32 and 33 before they are, yeah. But
back then, like the level that boxing was at in America, it was insane. It
was different.
The television exposure and everything. Yeah. Sugar Ray Leonard used to get, I don't know, like millions and millions on free TV watching his fights. It was like a massive thing. And he was the golden boy coming out of the Olympics. I mean, his popularity compared to these two is not.
Oh yeah, that's night and day. That you can't discuss that.
No.
But I think, like I said, this is that type of fight. You know what I mean? If we're talking about, I know we can't compare any people from this era to the Four Kings and all that, but I mean, Crawford and Spence are those two guys that would give us that type of special fight. Even though I quite, not heavily, but I do favour Crawford. I just think he's got too much for him. I think he's a better fighter overall. But again, let's just get the fight made. Everything else, until they get in the ring, the bell rings, nothing else matters really. So fingers crossed for 2021. Let's just hope we have a good year. I mean, for me, the only thing I'd say about 2020 is that as much as it's been difficult, I want to give credit to the fighters that actually got the ring. A lot of them could have just sat out and said, nah, money. I'm not risking my life getting there for this much less or whatnot. A lot of them made it happen. The promoters made it happen. We did get a very strong schedule from sort of August onwards.
A lot better than I expected to start with. I thought it was going to be shit.
To boxing as a sport for actually thinking, you know what, we can't put on shit fights. We got to just make it happen. So they pulled the strings. They made the big fights happen. We've seen Joshua. We've seen Lomachenko. We would have seen Fury, but obviously they couldn't make it happen. Dubois Joyce was a good fight. We had plenty of good fights with big names happening towards back end of the year. So I have to take my hat off to.
So is there no fights now the rest of the year? It's just Luke Campbell and Ryan Garcia coming up.
Campbell's on January 2nd.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So off the top of my head, I don't think there are any other fights now. I think this is it. And
that's a really good fight, though.
January. Yeah, excellent fight. So start off the year with a bang.
Yeah, the zone. I got the zone. I thought, what do you think of the zone?
I've got a fire stick, so I just clicked on that, and it was already, as in, I had like a stream on there that was perfect the whole way through.
All right. So I got the zone. I thought it was a nice app. I really liked it.
My paying's only $1.99, but do you think it's worth getting?
Yeah, I really liked it. Honestly, it was fucking cool app. They got loads of. They got so many, because you got to understand, Golden Boy have had image rights for a lot of these fights. Even like Floyd Mayweather's fights and Pacquiao fights, and there's a lot of fights in there. A lot of fights.
I'm gonna get it tonight then. I'm gonna get it.
And the app's cool, and they got some different shows. And
have you got the app on your phone or on your TV?
I've got it all places now.
So you got the app on your TV as well, yeah? Your smart TV.
Yeah, I got it on the TV. I got it on the PS and on my phone.
All right, I'm gonna download it now. Then as soon as we finish the podcast, I'm gonna go download it and watch some classic fights. That's it.
Yeah,
that's me sorted for tonight. All right, cool, wicked. So we've had a good year, and we finally managed to get a podcast started 3 years after we initially discussed it. So positive.
Yeah.
So thank you for your contribution to the podcast, my friend, and we'll wrap it up there. And hopefully we will try and get a podcast in the day before or a few days before Campbell Garcia. Touch on a few things that happen between now and then we'll get our review showing after that as well. Then, yeah. Let's wrap it up for now. And thank you to everyone who's listened to the podcast. As always, any questions that you may have, please drop us an email at theboxingjunkies@gmail.com, or you can comment in the comment section on our YouTube video. Thank you for your time, and we will catch you